Welcome to RPG Community College. My name is John Burgundy. I am the dean of this prestigious institution. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all the things that I'd wish I had known when I started playing Pathfinder Kingmaker. And we're going to start with some small quality of life things. These are going to make the game feel a little better to play. And the first one, and probably the most important one, is going to be to go into your options menu, and under the Games tab, there's going to be a huge list of auto pause options if you scroll down. The developers have given you just a massive list of options to choose when you want to pause the game. You can go through and experiment with these if you want, but there's three that I definitely recommend that everybody checks. You're going to want to pause when combat starts, when you detect a trap, and when new enemies enter into combat. Having these three enabled saved me a lot of frustration and increased my enjoyment of the game. There are a couple more interesting things too on this options page, and it is going to be worth giving it a look. The next little thing I'm going to talk about is going to be a tip for when you're in combat. When you're trying to target your AoE abilities, you'll notice that when you mouse over the enemies or allies, that your cursor will just snap to them. This can be really helpful in certain situations, and just a huge hindrance in others, especially since a lot of the spells in Pathfinder hit your enemies and your allies, so you're really going to want to be precise when you're throwing out a fireball or just any AoE damaging or debuffing ability. So this snapping is gonna cause you a lot of pain. But when you're targeting, if you hold down control, this will enable ground targeting, and your cursor will ignore all of the enemy models, and you'll only be able to target the ground. And this will make it a lot easier to precisely aim those AoE abilities, and this will save your front line from taking a lot of damage. Another quick little tip, if you're making a custom party formation, you'll be able to hold shift, and this will align whatever character that you have selected to the grid that's in the background behind all the portraits. You're welcome, all you OCD people out there. There's also a button that you can use to identify your enemies. If you press the Y key, you'll enter identify mode, and any enemy that you scroll your mouse over, you'll be able to identify them and see all the information that you currently know about the monster. This is going to be really useful if you're playing a paladin and you want to know the alignment of the monster that you're fighting, or if you're using a cleric and you want to use the protection from alignment spell to give you a little edge in a fight. And you're going to be able to get more information about monsters by defeating them. Some of your characters will make a skill check, and then the higher they succeed at the roll, the more information you'll learn about the defeated monster. This is something I never found out about until over halfway through my playthrough, and this would have saved me a lot of pain early on if I would have known that this existed. Another thing that's going to save you a lot of pain is playing on the right difficulty. If you have no idea what Pathfinder is, and you've never played a CRPG before, playing on easy is highly recommended. There's really no shame in it. This is actually a very challenging game. But if you're familiar with CRPGs, but you still don't know what the hell Pathfinder is, play on normal. Because there's really a lot of the tabletop mechanics incorporated into the game, and you're going to want to learn these if you really want to survive and kind of get off to a really good start in the later difficulties, which can be pretty important because of a few of the core features of this game. You really want to have a strong start. And for the people that are actually familiar with the Pathfinder rule set and really familiar with CRPGs, this is kind of where I was, and playing on challenging felt just really, really good to me. Later on, when you actually learn how to play the game, it's going to feel really easy, but you can always bump up the difficulty. Once you start getting more used to the mechanics and how things work, there's always the option to change it in the options menu. And I would really only recommend the unfair difficulty for those who want a challenge on a second playthrough of the game. And one thing that everybody should know is having a cleric in your party is going to be mandatory. Not just for the healing they provide, they also get access to spells that no other class can use, and a couple of them are going to be crucial to your success. Spells like Restoration, Delay Poison, Protection from Energy, Resist Energy, Death Ward, Breath of Life, Resurrection. All of these spells are going to save your life and make the game a lot easier. And if you don't have these spells, some encounters in the game are going to be just damn near impossible to do. You're going to be able to choose between 2 clerics pretty early on in the game. I chose to have Harem in my party, but Tristan is very good as well. And they're not exclusive or anything, you can swap between them if that's your thing. And speaking of your companions, Valerie is definitely a character that, at first glance, you don't really know what to make of her. My first impression was that she was really weak, but after doing some looking around, it turns out I was just building her wrong. Charisma is apparently a very useful stat to have on a tanky character in Pathfinder. You're going to want to dip 1 point into the rogue subclass Thug and grab Dazzling Display on her, and then she'll be able to fear just screenfuls of enemies, which is incredibly powerful. Don't underestimate the power of fear in this game. It's something you're going to want to look into. It can be annoying at times, but the good definitely outweighs the bad. And you're going to be able to make this even stronger on Valerie by taking feats like Intimidating Prowess, Cornigan Smash, and Shattered Defenses. Later on, you'll also be able to find items that support this playstyle on Valerie, and eventually she actually turns into a character that can deal a decent amount of damage and does more than just take damage for the party. You might be able to find an item called the Paragon of Defenders. This gives you a +3 bonus to your persuasion checks made to intimidate, which is what Dazzling Display does. And you're also going to be able to find an item called Korgath's Shackled Fury. This is going to give you a +5 confidence bonus to your persuasion skill checks, which is also what Dazzling Display is. And this would be a good time to also talk about what buffs are going to stack on your character and which buffs don't. So if you see here on Korgath's Shackled Fury, you get a +5 competence bonus to your persuasion. So if I was to get a competence bonus from any other source to my persuasion skill, if it was not higher than +5, this bonus would do nothing for me. Bonuses of the same type usually don't stack. Very rarely do they ever stack, actually. The only stacking bonus I can think of is dodge. A dodge bonus to your AC specifically. All dodge bonuses to your AC are going to stack. Also, if you look at the helm I was just talking about, it just gives a +3 generic bonus to my persuasion checks. And since it really doesn't specify what type of bonus it is, this is going to stack with everything. These bonuses are pretty rare though, but they're very valuable. And both these items go great on Valerie if you're going to build her this way. And the last thing that I'm going to be talking about is kingdom management. This is probably one of the things that I had the hardest time finding information for out there. And most of what I know, I learned just from kind of diving in and getting my hands dirty. But this is a very important feature of the game, and it is something that you should pay attention to and put a lot of effort into doing very well. Because if you do fail at the kingdom management side of things, it could result in a game over. You can avoid this by going into the options menu and setting the kingdom management to auto, which is very handy to know because this game takes a very long time to complete, and you're just flushing 100+ hours down the toilet never feels good. But there are 2 things that you can do to greatly increase your chances of success with your kingdom management. And the first thing is to unlock all of your advisors as soon as possible. You can unlock additional advisors by ranking up the starting stats of your kingdom to 60, and then leveling up the advisor to the corresponding stat to level 3, and then he or she will visit you in the throne room and tell you that the work is simply too much for them and you need to take on an additional advisor. And this will give you much more flexibility in solving problems, and it will make it so that you can take on more problems at once and potentially more opportunities and anything that can come up. This is something that I didn't do, and I frequently had to devote people to solving problems instead of like ranking them up or going and claiming new territory. Just having more people in your kingdom to help you out and to help you solve these problems is really just going to make all the difference. And the second thing you can do is be very efficient with your time when you're moving around on the map. Just doing something as simple as thinking ahead and properly planning how you're going to use your time. And just like when you're in an area, complete all the quests in one go so you don't have to come back and waste time later, like backtracking. Buying all the bags of holding so that you have enough carrying capacity to not be slowed down on the world map is going to make a huge difference as well. When you end up getting your arcane advisor and you level up your arcane to 45, you'll be able to build teleportation pads in all of the cities that you build and the new areas that you expand into. This is going to cut down your travel time by a lot and make things a ton easier. You'll be able to build, I think they're called aviaries, so that kingdom resolutions take a little longer and you'll be able to manage your kingdom outside of the territories that you own. This will make another big difference as well. And the sooner you're able to do all of these things, the better. Really, just getting off to a good start in your kingdom is going to be a big deal. If you can do that, you're more than likely going to be very successful in your kingdom management. That's going to be all for this video though. I hope these tips were helpful for you. I know I definitely would have liked to have known all these things beforehand, and taking all this information into my second playthrough is going to make a world of difference for me. But thanks for stopping by, and if you'd like to continue your education, enrollment is free. All you have to do is like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I wish you the best of luck in all of your adventures, and I hope to see you again soon.